Birthright, issue number 26. This is by Image Comics. This is actually a series that someone recommended to me, I want to say a couple months ago, actually. And a couple days after she recommended it to me, I went out to my local comic book store and I found a couple of issues. So I picked it up, started reading it, and then I enjoyed it. I was intrigued enough, so I got the rest of the issues. Reason why it's taken so long for me to do a video on it is because if I do a review on an issue, I want you guys to know that I have read everything up until that point. This is issue 26. I have read issues 1 to 25. If I'm doing a series in this issue number 33, you better damn well know that I've read issues 1 to 32. I mean, that might be a little too hardcore because it is really time consuming, not to mention draining on the money. I really should just if I want to jump in like into the beginning of an arc or something, just find a good jumping on point. But yeah, every series that I've done an issue for so far at the time of this recording, I have read every issue for every series. So that's why it took so long for me to actually finally get to this series. Is because I was reading every issue up to here. Because I'm one of those people that if I'm going to review a series, I want to give you the best. I want to be as fair as I possibly can. So I don't want to jump into a series. Like, for example, Batman. I haven't been reading Batman at all. I haven't even read one issue of Batman. Well, I take that back. I read a couple issues just because I wanted to be on the uptake on the Bun. It was a short Bun event that took place between Batman and The Flash. So that's the only Batman that I've read. So if I were to read the latest Batman right now and do a review on it, I don't think the review would be fair because I would know nothing that has transpired up to that point. I'd be completely lost. I might take it out on the comic by saying this comic is completely losing me. I have no idea what's going on. It's confusing, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be one of those people. So if I ever review Batman, like if I'm ever going to review Batman, I'm going to read every freaking issue that I possibly can up to that point. So, yeah, just a little side note. So that's why it took so long for me to do Birthright. It's because I was reading every single issue up to this point. So I might be, because of that, it's been a while since I've gotten to this. I basically binge read a lot of this issue, and then I've read tons of other different series after that, before this latest issue came out. So if I confuse anything, so hopefully I don't get anything too wrong. I'm not gonna do a whole overview on the series. I'm just gonna do something really short. Basically, story starts off with the Rhodes family. It starts off with Aaron and his son Mikey, and they're playing catch in the woods, and it's Mikey's birthday, I believe. And Aaron throws the ball a little too far and it lands in the woods. And Mikey goes to retrieve the ball and then he disappears. And he's gone for 2 years. And the Rose family kind of basically collapses. The mom, who is a fucking terrible character and I absolutely hate her, blames Aaron and believes that Aaron had killed Mikey and then buried the body somewhere. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, woman, do you have no faith whatsoever in your husband? You can't trust him. If he tells you, hey, my son disappeared into the woods. I mean, if I had a wife and she went and took our son somewhere, and I mean, the wife seemed completely normal, so completely loving. There was no hints whatsoever that there's something wrong with her. No, family history of anything being wrong. And then all of a sudden, she says, our son disappeared. I'm not going to start blaming her and be like, yeah, you killed our son and you buried the body somewhere. Where did you hide it? Where did you hide the body? Where did you hide our boy? I'm not going to be like that. But apparently the mom in this story is. So the family kind of breaks up. And then 2 years later, a grown man who looks a lot like the... he looks a lot like the dude playing Aquaman in the latest Justice League movie. I don't know his name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. Him shows up, and he has a bunch of swords and things like that. And he basically tells this mystical adventure about how he basically confesses to being Mikey. And at first, everyone, like, no one believes him except the dad. The dad believes that it's Mikey because he, like, looks at the boy's eyes and he's like, that's Mikey. Like, but the mom doesn't. The mom thinks it's someone playing a prank. This is another reason why I hate the mom and I like the dad more. Dad comes across as very more sympathetic. And so the dad believes it's Mikey, and then Mikey's older brother, Brennan, who is now, I guess, younger, because Brennan is like, I think I want to say he's like 10 or 12 years. He's between 10 and 12 years old, I would say. Mikey's like in his 30s now, or late 20s. Yeah, it's very confusing. But yeah, Mikey tells the story. Aaron believes that it's him. Brennan starts believing it's him. The mom doesn't until, like, I don't know, maybe halfway through this series so far. So they go, basically the son takes Mikey and Brendan and they go on this crazy adventure. Basically, Mikey says that there's this, he's like back in his world, he's the chosen one, and he fought this demon called Lore, and he killed the demon, and he came here to this world because there's these mages that are trying to destroy the world. Like, they're basically trying to open up a realm between our world and this magical world, and Mikey has to kill them all. And then throughout the issues, we find out that Mikey's lying. Mikey actually fought Lore and he lost, and then he got infected with this Nevermind. That's what the thing is called. It's like a demon. And Mikey killing the mages will actually open up a portal to this new world where Lore can invade. And Mikey's doing this on the assumption that if he helps the demon lord will spare him and his family. And it's kind of like, dude, come on. Haven't you, like, seen any, like, comics or read any books or watched any movies? Don't ever trust a demon. Anytime someone says, if you do this, I'll spare your family, they're fucking lying to you. But yeah, Mikey tells him the story. Aaron and Brennan believe him, though Brennan starts disbelieving him later on, and realizes that he's infected. But the dad comes across very sympathetic. The dad's one of those where he's like, my dad abandoned me, and I don't ever want to, and I could never rely on him. And that's something that I don't ever want to be towards my kids. I want my kids to know that they can rely on me with anything, and that I would basically risk my life for them and stuff. So the dad, like I said, awesome character, very, very sympathetic. If a little misguided, but he's super, like I said, super sympathetic. Mom is not. Mom's a bitch. I still hate her. But yeah, they go on this adventure. Turns out Brennan actually has these magical powers, and I'm starting to think that maybe Brennan was actually the chosen one, and they got the wrong kid. Brennan has these magical powers. He discovers that Mikey is lying. The dad realizes that Mikey is lying, but the dad's, he still obviously loves his kid, so he's trying to figure out what he can do to help his son. They discover that their dad, Samael, is actually one of the mages, and that was the reason why he abandoned Aaron as a boy, because he didn't want Aaron to be involved in any of that stuff. So now Samael's trying to help with his family as well, because Samael realizes that he fucked up by abandoning his family. So he's trying to make up for it. And then in the last issue, Mikey is fighting this demon, and the demon kidnaps Brennan and takes him back into this magical world. Also, one of the females that Mikey met in the magical world. I keep calling it magical world because I forgot the name of the actual place, so forgive me for that. But there's this female character named Raya, and she kind of helped train Mikey. Basically, they were both like the same age, and she was trained longer to fight, so she kind of helped him, and I guess they fell in love, and she's pregnant now, and she had his daughter in the last issue. So we start off this issue with a flashback, and we see Mikey fighting a league of orcs as he marches up towards Lore's throne room, and so we get some pretty cool action scenes, and the art in this is amazing. The art is fucking fantastic. Is it sad that the art in Image, and not just Image but Independence, I'm gonna bring up another issue in a future video, that the artwork in there is 100 times better than Marvel? And I'm not just talking about regular Marvel, I'm talking about Marvel's flagship series. Is it sad that independents have better artwork than Marvel? Because I think it is. I mean, Marvel's like the number one comic company, or it should be. And like the stuff that they're pumping out is just absolute garbage. Meanwhile, you got small little independents. I'm not classifying Image as one. I'm just talking about like other series. You got small little independents that have just like amazing, beautiful artwork, like way better than anything Marvel's even coming close to. So we see Mikey rushing up towards the throne room, but instead of finding Lore, he finds his grandfather Samael, and he's like, this isn't right. You weren't here when I fought Lore. And then, so yeah, basically Samael's trying to get Mikey to admit to what happened. Because what happened was they were able to separate Mikey from the Nevermind briefly, but doing that was killing Mikey. So they had to put the Nevermind back into Mikey, and now they're trying to find like another way to separate the two. And one of them is by Mikey confessing to what happened so that Samael can know like the steps that they need to take to reverse the situation. And I'm sorry if you hear that snoring. That's actually my dog. She's sleeping right behind me. She snores really loud. Yeah, like that. Yeah, Samael's like, whatever happened here in Lore's throne room was obviously traumatic. You're blocking me, but also yourself. You don't want to relive it, and I understand why. From the moment you were taken to Terinos, okay, so that's what it's called, Terinos, you were told one thing, that you were the chosen one and that it was your destiny to defeat Lore, but you failed. Yeah, I mean, Mikey was basically taken from his family as a young kid and raised to fight Lore and kill Lore. And he was basically beaten over the head that you're the chosen one and it's your destiny to do it. But then as soon as the time came, he failed miserably. Which kind of leads me to believe that Brandon is the one that's actually the chosen one. But yeah, Mikey starts thinking about it first, but then he starts having flashbacks to what happened in the previous issue with the fact that Raya had a daughter and the family refuses for Mikey to be near the daughter because they don't trust Mikey anymore because of the fact that he's infected with this demon. So Mikey goes to attack his grandfather, and his grandfather like basically disappears, and we see him wake up, and he's like he's sitting on this steel coffin, and we see Mikey inside like submerged in water, and he's like, damn it, Mikey, all right, we're gonna try again later. And then he leaves, and the mom shows up, and she's like, busted again. And Samuel, this is why I hate the mom. Samuel, progress, not perfection, Wendy. Bullshit. You told us that putting Mike inside that coffin would help him unlock his real memories of what happened to him in Terinos. Yeah, she's very like, I don't think that was a good example, but trust me, she's like a bitch of a character. She is not sympathetic whatsoever, and I feel like she should be, because obviously she's a mom who lost her kid, blamed the husband, and then the kid comes back and she realizes it's not her husband. Her husband had nothing to do with his disappearance, and she was in the wrong. And you would think, okay, maybe that could be her story arc, is the fact that she didn't trust her husband, and because of that, she's the one who technically ruined her family. And now she's trying to make amends, but she's not. Like, I have yet to see anything where she has yet to say sorry to her husband or her ex-husband or whatever. I don't even know if they're technically divorced. I think they're just separated. But yeah, even her husband called her out on her bullshit, and she just she didn't like admit that she was wrong. That's why I hate her character. Like, her husband is trying to do everything that he possibly can for his family, and meanwhile she actually went to the cops and was helping the cops, and it turns out that one of the cops was a member of this world and actually not a good guy. So like, nothing about her, like, she hasn't helped in any way. Like, I think the only good thing she's done is she helped deliver the baby. That was it. But yeah, like, even then, like, she just constantly puts down the family over and over and over again. Even after she realizes that she was in the wrong, she still put down her husband. And luckily her husband had the stones to call her out on her bullshit and basically said, you're the one that fucked up our family. I told you, that I would never do anything to my family. You knew I loved my family, but you didn't believe me. and you even took my family away from me because when they got separated, she took Brennan. I failed Mikey once by not being able to save him before when he got kidnapped. I'm not going to fail him again. And he literally goes out of his way to help his family. Meanwhile, she is just a bitch. I'm sorry for that ramble, but yeah. So we cut to Aaron, and he's holding his granddaughter and trying to get her to say grandpa and stuff. So see, like he comes across as very likable. Like while the mom is bitching out the grandfather for not being able to get through to Mikey, even though the grandfather's obviously trying. Here we have Aaron, who is like trying to get to know the woman who fathered his granddaughter. He's trying to get to know his granddaughter. Like here he is. He's the one trying to be a family guy, while the mom is somewhere else on the ship bitching about, bitching out the grandpa. This is why I can't stand the mom. Like even now, like we see her. She's like, "We agreed to your plan, Samuel, and you have shared nothing but breadcrumbs. We agreed to stay together as a family to help Mikey, and you promised this would help us find Callista." That's the demon that kidnapped Brennan, and Brennan as well. And Samuel's like, "And we will, I promise you, but it takes time." Like, he's trying to convince this bitch of a woman. I'm sorry I keep using that word, but I just can't stand this character. So he's trying to convince her, like, magic is obviously like not something that I can just snap my fingers and everything is fixed. It takes time. It takes effort. He's constantly working at it, and you can see that he is. And the mom's still not giving him any slack. Meanwhile, if anyone should be angry at the grandfather, it should be Aaron, because his son, because Aaron was the one that got abandoned by this guy. But no, he's like willing to forgive and put he's willing to put the past behind him. The mom just can't. The mom can't let anything go. And the thing is, like, lady, for someone who can't let anything go, you sure as hell soon to be able to let go of all the mistakes you've made. But let's get back to the story. I don't want this to turn into a whole bitch fest. But yeah, they see like someone else watching, like looking on the computer, and this thing like a dragon's wheel. And basically, what's happening is the magic world and Earth are slowly starting to bleed together. And basically, Earth, our world, was like left in the dark in terms of magic. Like, it's kind of like in the real world, the majority of the population doesn't believe that magic is real. And now, like, basically the world is starting to catch up to the realization that no, magic is real. But it's like a slow bleed. So they have to basically stop lore before their world like completely combines with this new world, with this magic world. So we see them like riding on the train, and we see Samuel Rhodes use one of his aliases to purchase tickets for himself and 3 others in Scotland yesterday. Okay, then all aboard, and then we get like what looks like a SWAT team almost, and it looks like their job is to take out Samuel. That's how the issue ends. So yeah, that was Birthright. Sorry, I kind of went all over the place with that. It's kind of hard to jump into a series 26 issues in, and I'm trying to like catch you guys up on it a little bit, so you're not completely lost. I probably could have done a better job of that. Another thing is that I don't script any of my videos whatsoever. Nothing here is scripted. It's basically I put the mic in front of me, I hold a comic in my lap, and then I talk about it as I flip through it. So yeah, nothing is scripted. Everything's kind of off the cuff. So sometimes that's why I kind of ramble and I'm kind of all over the place. I've thought about maybe writing like actual scripts for me to read when I do my reviews, but I've decided against it just for a number of reasons. One is that it'll take way too much time, and if I do that, then I'm not going to be able to do. I'm only doing 3 videos, 3 comic videos a week, but if I did that, I'll probably like maybe do 1. Maybe not even 1 every week, but 1 every 2 weeks or something. Just because it's I don't have that much free time to be. I'm already spending a lot of free time having to go to the store to buy the comics, read all the comics, review the comics, and then edit the comics and then upload the comics. That takes hours upon hours of time that I don't really have because I do have an actual real job. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I do it. Another reason is just because I want this to feel more like almost like a conversation. Like if I had like another person that I was doing these reviews with, I would want it to feel almost like a regular conversation that people have with friends, not anything scripted. I don't know, I don't care for that kind of style. I don't know, I just kind of want this to seem more like almost like you're talking with a friend. A friend is like explaining stuff to you. I guess that's kind of like the style I'm going for. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. So yeah, that was a new issue of Birthright. It's a good series. I like it. I actually almost dropped it just because like the first couple of issues were intriguing, and then after a while it was just kind of like eh. But then it picked up, and not one of my favorites currently to read, but it's a good series. Would I recommend it? Maybe. I think it kind of depends. If you like urban fantasy stories, like stories that use magic but in the modern day, like basically like Dresden Files. If you like those kind of stuff, then I think you would really enjoy Birthright. Like I said, the characterizations are good, story is good, pacing is good, plot is unique. I say characterizations even though I hate the mom character. But other than that, like what people are doing makes sense. No one's doing anything just to prolong the story. Artwork is fucking fantastic. So yeah, I mean, it's 26 issues in, and it's one of those where there is no arcs. This is almost like a TV where every episode matters. So you have to pick up every issue. So if you don't mind putting down money for like a trade paperback version or buying every individual issue, if you have that kind of money, I would recommend picking it up. If not, then I would say no, because this is one of those where, like I said, there's no story arcs. This is like one continuous event. So you have to read every issue. You can't just like jump in later on, read it, pick up a couple of issues and then disappear for like, a few issues and then jump back in again, because you'll be lost. You have to if you, this is one of those where this is like a dedicated series. You got to dedicate yourself to picking up every issue. If you're willing to do that, then you'll find a great series here. If you're not, or if you just don't have the money for it, then I would take a pass on this, just for those reasons. But yeah, that was a Birthright. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any, like I said, this series was actually a one of you guys recommended it to me. So if you guys recommend any other series, ongoing stuff or stuff that came out in the last couple years are the best to recommend. I mean, I'll read. If you guys recommend like a series that was completed a year or two ago, so it doesn't have to be something that's ongoing. But the reason why I say something either ongoing or something that came out in like the last year or two is just because that's a lot more easier to find in my local comic book store, because they'll keep issues from like a couple like 3 years back. Anything past that is very hard to find, and I basically got to rely on like digital versions. And when it comes to brand new series, I like to basically pick up the comic and flip through it first. Like, so if you guys recommend me something like Birthright, I went to the local comic store, I found one of the issues, and I flipped through it, and I kind of liked the artwork, and I kind of liked some of the story ideas. So that's why I ended up picking it up. I can't do that with the digital version. So yeah, if you guys have any other series you guys want to recommend, please let me know. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys next time. Later.